Hello aspirants, I welcome you all to Daily Current Affairs Analysis of Shankar IAS Academy. Today's date is 26th of April 2025. Now, before getting into the list of articles, I have an important announcement for you. It is regarding our UPSC All India Mark Test. So, it will be similar to your UPSC preliminary examination. So, use this opportunity. You can register using the link given in the description, and you can take this test and check your preparedness for your examination. The test will be conducted in 3 different days, especially on the Sundays. So, with this note, let us get into the list of articles for today's discussion. So, in the first article, we'll be discussing about the basics of WTO, World Trade Organization. And in the second article, we'll be discussing about the National Commission for Scheduled Tribes NCST from the prelims perspective. In the third article, we'll be discussing about artificial ripening of mangoes and how it will have an impact on both the fruit as well as human being. And in the fourth article, we'll be discussing about the reforms that is required in UNSC and for what India is asking for a permanent membership in UNSC. Finally, we'll be seeing about caste census. What is caste census? What are all the advantages of it and what are all the disadvantages of it? What are all the challenges? And we'll be seeing them. Last two articles, we'll be seeing them from the mains perspective. So, without any delay, let us get into the article discussion. Now look at this article about WTO, World Trade Organization. Recently, WTO is in news because of lot of changes brought in by US administration, especially after Donald Trump's presidentship. So they have brought in changes like bringing up the tariffs in order to protect the domestic industries. Then even they entered into bilateral trades, which is against the WTO norms. So WTO is actually a multilateral organization. So these violations of the terms has actually raised the question: is the World Trade Organization still relevant? So from the prelims perspective, we have to learn about the basic structure of how WTO works. So let us start with that. It was actually established in January 1, 1995, and actually it is a successor to GATT, General Agreement on Tariff and Trade. Talking about their objective, it is to promote free and fair trade, secondly, to resolve the trade disputes between countries, and thirdly, to ensure smooth trade flows. And its headquarters, it is in Geneva, Switzerland. Talking about its membership, there are currently 164 members as of 2020, and it accounts for 98% of world's trade. And the membership is actually open membership. Here, open membership means any person who adhere to the terms and conditions of WTO can actually join the organization. However, it is not automatic, meaning if you are going and if you are going to tell that I am going to join WTO, you cannot, as it is, join WTO. There is a lot of procedure, but it is open to any country. So this is as simple as that. Once a country is getting the membership of WTO, it will get the privilege of most favored nation. So the most favored nation is nothing but the members of WTO will have the same tariffs. So if the tariff is actually increasing, then the member countries will also increase the tariff. So this is how the most favored nation actually works, and this status will be offered to that particular country which is newly joining. And this country should also give the WTO members the most favored nation status. So this is what meant by the membership. Now moving on, talking about the core principles of WTO, first is non-discrimination. So the countries, they can favor the countries which are more likely in order to get any kind of political as well as economical gains. So this particular WTO, it tries to prevent all that, and it tries to bring down the discrimination. Secondly, it provides the most favored nation. As I said earlier, it gives equal treatment to all trading partners. Thirdly, the national treatment. So it makes sure that the foreign goods are treated the same as the domestic goods even after entering a particular country. Thirdly, brings in lot of transparency. Members must publish the trade rules straight away, and it brings in a lot of reciprocity. Reciprocity is nothing but the practice of exchanging things for mutual respect as well as mutual benefits. Now, moving on, let us try to understand the key agreements. See, GATT, it was actually a successor, but after WTO, it became a main key agreement under WTO. And that is GATS, which is General Agreement on Trade and Services. This is for goods and this is for services. Then we have TRIPS, which is trade related aspects of intellectual property rights. So this is actually IPR. Then we have TRIMS, which is trade related investment measures. And finally, we have agriculture and subsidies, under which we will be having different boxes, amber boxes, blue boxes, and all. So let us try to solve this particular prelims question based on the discussion. The most favored nation principle as defined in GATT ensures. Here actually four different options is given, and four different options also suits the particular term. But here the correct answer is actually equal market access for all nations. So remember that you have to pick the exact answer which is very closely relevant. So here the correct answer is option D. With this learned points, now let us move on to the next news article discussion. The National Commission for Scheduled Tribes, in short called as NCST, was recently in news because on April 19, 2025, a tribal villager was died during a protest in Barkani, which is in Odisha. The protest was actually against the SAIL railway project. So here, NCST has actually taken the particular case through suo motu cognizance. Suo motu cognizance is nothing but taking the cases voluntarily by the particular body itself, and they have actually sought action taken report. So from the prelims perspective, we have to know about NCST, very important. So let's start with what is the constitutional basis of this NCST. So it was established under Article 338A, and it was created only after 2003 by the 89th Constitutional Amendment Act. So it actually came in effect in 19 February 2004, and it was actually separated from the National Commission for SC and ST. So here comes what is their objectives as well as composition. Talking about their objective, it is to protect and promote scheduled tribes' rights as well as welfare. Here, talking about their composition, it has chairman, one person, vice chairperson is one person. Along with that, there will be three members. Among them, at least one should be women. So all of them, they will be appointed by the President of our India. Now moving on, talking about the powers of NCST, they actually have the powers similar to civil court. See, this particular statement will be asked for any particular constitutional body or any particular quasi-judicial bodies. So remember, it has the powers of a civil court, meaning it can summon and examine witnesses, and it can requisite public records, meaning it can ask for any public records that are actually helping in the particular case. Then it can receive evidences on affidavits as well, and it can issue commissions for witness examination as well. So these are certain important powers of NCST. Moving on, talking about their key functions. Firstly, they monitor safeguards for scheduled tribes. Secondly, they inquire into any kind of rights violation when it comes to scheduled tribes. Thirdly, they advise on socio-economic development planning when it comes to scheduled tribes. Then they submit annual or a special report to the president. Then he will be submitting it to the parliament. And finally, it will recommend measures for the scheduled tribes' welfare as well as legal reforms. So far we saw about NCST from the prelims perspective. We saw about the constitutional basis, then we saw about what is the composition, who will appoint it, and then we saw about their key roles as well as powers. Now let us try to solve this particular question. The provisions in 5th schedule and 6th schedule in the Constitution of India are made in order to, the correct answer here is option A, protect the interest of scheduled tribes. So the correct answer is option A. So with these learned points, now let us move on to the next news article discussion. Now look at this news article. This news article talks about artificial ripening and the impacts of it in human being. So now currently it is in news because a young professional suffered food poisoning after consuming mango salad that was prepared using mangoes that was ripened using artificial ripening. So this particular topic, it can be asked in both prelims as well as mains. In prelims it will be asked in the general science, and in mains it will be asked in both GS paper 2 as well as GS paper 3. In GS paper 2 it will be asked under public health, and GS paper 3 it will be asked under technology, economic development and biodiversity. So without any delay, let us get to know about what is this artificial ripening. See, it is nothing but a technique that is used to mature fruits quickly for market demand. So actually there are two important methods through which this artificial ripening is happening. So the first method that is actually approved by FSSAI is this ethylene gas C2H4. This C2H4 is actually safe because it mimics the natural ripening hormone. So as per FSSAI, 100 ppm is allowed to use. However, since the market demand is very high, people go to shortcuts but like using this calcium carbonate along with moisture. This will create acetyl acetylene gas C2H2. This acetylene gas will mimic this ethylene. So here this particular method is actually banned by the FSSAI because it produces toxic byproducts like arsenic as well as phosphine. So these byproducts will also create a lot of impacts in our human body. Let us see them one by one. So here you can see the health impacts of using calcium carbide as a ripening agent. So for example, for the nervous system we'll be having dizziness, headaches as well as mood swings. Then for the respiratory system we'll be having coughing, throat irritation as well as breathlessness. Then digestion we'll be getting vomiting, cramps as well as diarrhea. Then for skin we will be having ulcers, rashes, long-term lesions, as well as for the in the long term it can even create, if we are consuming a lot of it, then it can create cancer, dehydration as well as organ damage. And that is why it is a very important thing to not consume these fruits that are ripened using calcium carbonate. Now moving on, here comes a question why calcium carbonate is actually used instead of ethylene gas. See, it is actually used because it is cheaper and easily available. And when we talk about the ethylene gas, you have to use that inside a particular chamber, cooling chamber, and only then it can have an effect. But this calcium carbonate does not require a chamber like that. So what happens here? So here there will be faster ripening and there is no need for a cold storage or a chamber. As well as since there is a visual appeal of fruit, it actually misleads the consumers as well, and they choose the artificially ripened through calcium carbide. Apart from this, there is weaker enforcement from the FSSA AI side as well. However, any method, if you are using the artificial ripening, then there will be a lot of nutritional loss. Let us see them one by one. Firstly, there will be lower level of vitamin C, citric acid, as well as folate, iron, zinc, and fiber. So far we saw about what is artificial ripening, then we saw about how it will have an impact on health, and then we saw what are all the nutritional loss will be there due to this artificial ripening. Now with this, let us try to solve this particular question. Here three statements have been given. The first statement says use of calcium carbide for ripening fruits is banned under FSSAI regulations. Yeah, it's true. Second statement says ethylene gas is promoted for artificial ripening as it mimics natural plant hormones. Yeah, it is true. Third statement says artificially ripened mangoes have higher vitamin C content than the naturally ripened one. So here the third statement is actually the contentious point of contention. So the third statement is actually incorrect and the first two statements are correct. So the correct answer here is option A, 1 and 2 only. If you could eliminate third option, you can directly arrive at the answer, which is option A. So with these learned points, now let us move on to the next news article discussion. Look at this article that talks about United Nations Security Council UNSC. Now recently it is in news because our Indian government, it has subjected to religion based representation in UNSC reforms at the intergovernmental negotiation meeting. See, this IGN meeting is nothing but a meeting of all the members of United Nations Security Council where very important decisions are actually taken and discussed. So this particular decision has been taken by our government because India feels that this will undermine the regional representation, and it even criticized the stalling of reforms. A lot of reforms are actually required in UNSC to be even more democratic and even more fair and free, and stalling of those reforms has been criticized by our government. So from the mains perspective, we have to know about what is this UNSC. See, United Nation, it was formed after the World War II. So even before United Nations, we had League of Nations. The League of Nations was actually formed after the World War One to bring in a lot of cooperation among the members in the world. However, it led to World War Two. After World War Two, it led to creation of United Nations Security. It led to United Nations, to bring in cooperation among the member countries. So this United Nations, it has 6 important organs. Here you can see the organs. First is the General Assembly, then the Security Council, then the Economic and Social Council, then we have Trusteeship Council, then we have International Court of Justice, and then Secretariat. Here, the Security Council is a very important organ of United Nations, because most of the major decisions is actually taken there. So this UNSC, it was actually established along with UN in 1945. It has 15 members, 5 permanent members, and 10 non-permanent members. So here, the non-permanent members, they will be having 2 years tenure, and the membership or the leadership will be rotating based on the region. So this will bring in a lot of inclusivity, because all the region will be covered for two since 2 years of tenure is provided. So here, talking about the permanent members, it includes P5 countries, which is nothing but the US, UK, France, Russia, as well as China. All of the P5 countries, they have a veto power. So the main mandate of this UNSC is to maintain peace, resolve conflict, and approve new members. Now moving on, let us see about the G4 proposal. So in this G4 proposal, India has actually asked for expanding UNSC from 25 to 26 members. So it suggested to increase the permanent members to by including 6 new members, and non-permanent members from 4 to 5 members. So actually, this proposal was supported by United Nations Secretary General in September 2024. Now here comes the question, why UNSC reforms is urgently needed. See, first important thing is the outdated representation. See this. See, the representation that we currently have, it actually reflect the post World War II, and it is not the current. It is not reflecting the current realities. So currently, lot of development has been made, and lot of countries are actually doing economically good as well as politically good. But even then, they are not properly represented in UNSC. That is a very important problem. Secondly, credibility crisis. So, for example, a PFA country was involved in the Russia-Ukraine war. Russia has been involved. However, due to the veto power, it is any decision against that particular country could not be taken. So here, the framework itself is ineffective in nature, for which we require reforms. Thirdly, democratic deficit. There is lack of equity as well as inclusivity, especially when it comes to decision making. And finally, effective and efficient decision making. Here, India is actually prioritizing the legitimacy. Legitimacy means conformity to the rules or laws. Now, moving on, let us quickly go through India's case for permanent membership. So, India is asking for permanent membership for a lot longer period of time, because it has the largest democracy, and it is the fifth largest GDP. It has the fifth largest GDP, and it is one of the major troop contributor for the peacekeeping operations. And we have political stability, we have strong democratic tradition, and we will raise lot of voice for the global south, as well as the cultural legacy, as well as United Nations engagement. For these reasons, India is asking for permanent membership in United Nations Security Council. Along with that, there are a lot of track record when it comes to UNSC. For example, we have served the UNSC as a non-permanent member for 8 times. We served as a member last time in 2021 to 2022, and we have even contributed in the Korean War, Bangladesh War, Namibia War, and even apartheid. And the key focus of India was always to participate in peacekeeping, counterterrorism, Middle East, and WMD control. WMD is nothing but weapon of mass destruction. Now, moving on, let us see about what is the challenges in achieving the particular membership. Here we have P5 resistance, notably China is actually resisting our permanent membership. Then there is no consensus. We have to build a lot of consensus, and there is a slow IGN, intergovernmental negotiations. The negotiations are not properly going, and that is why it was criticized by India in the meeting. So here comes the question: what can be done? So we have to use multilateral forums. which are similar, which has a similar power like a United Nations, like G4, BRICS, IBSA, and even Quad. And we have to mobilize global south to support and build a consensus with respect to India's membership. And we have to push for text based talks, and we have to propose time bound action on that particular document. So these are all very important way forwards. Now, based on the discussion, I have framed a mains question for you. Let me read out the question. The current structure of the United Nations Security Council no longer reflects the geopolitical realities of the 21st century. In this context, critically evaluate India's case for permanent membership. So you can write an answer and post it in the comment section so that we can review your answer as well as your peers can review it. Now, with this, let us move on to the next article. Now look at this article. This article talks about caste survey conducted by Karnataka state government. It was started 10 years ago, and even today it has received a lot of criticism than appreciation. So from the mains perspective, we have to learn about what is this caste census, what are the advantages of it, what are the challenges in it. So let's start with what is this caste census. See, caste census is nothing but enumeration of the caste groups and their socio-economic status. So we have a caste census which was collected in 1931. So the data is actually, we have a gap in data. Even in 2011, there was SECC. SECC is nothing but the socio-economic and caste census. But this particular thing, survey, they did not collect all caste-based data. Instead, it was just economic data. And we currently lack the proper data for caste census. And this particular caste survey, which was in the news, is actually a state specific caste survey. It is undertaken by the Karnataka government from 2015. Now, moving on, let us see the purpose and differences from census, how it is different from census. See, the very purpose of this caste census is to collect data for backwardness, reservation, as well as policy and decision making. So the census is nothing but a demographic data for all, but the caste census is a way more ahead of that. And the caste census will be based on the caste based data, and it supports evidence based policy making. Now, moving on, let us see about the significance of caste census. First thing is, it informs affirmative actions and reservation policies. See, we have age old data, and the reservation is based on that data only. So we have to bring in new caste census, and we have to make reforms, and we have to bring in a lot of reservation policies based on that renewed census. Secondly, we have to include marginalized as well as nomadic communities, those who have not been properly represented and those who have not been properly categorized. And it actually counters the elite capture within OBCs. So, lot of elites, they will be captured under OBCs. So, by this caste census, even they will be recategorized. So this particular exercise, it will help us to give the benefits to only who deserve. And then we have it will promote the equitable resource distribution, as I said, and it will help a lot in planning. Now, moving on, here comes the challenges and controversies. Firstly, the political backlash from the dominant caste. This is due to the change in reservations and the benefits that they have obtained from the government for a longer period of time. Secondly, there is under reporting as well as biasness. The documentation is very poor, and the data gap is actually a loophole here, and exceeds Supreme Court ceiling of 50% reservation. See, certain states, they actually exceed the Supreme Court's ceiling of 50% cap reservation when it comes to reservation. So this is also bringing in a lot of controversy as well as challenges when it comes to reservation. And finally, legal, operational, and social challenges are there when it comes to this caste census. So here comes the question, what can be done? So we have to ensure transparency in data as well as processing. For that, we have to disseminate what kind of information is required to be categorized as a particular community, and we have to take in lot of recommendations like Hedge Commission and lot of them. And secondly, we have to bring in independent review panel for validation. So instead of just getting the data alone, we have to bring in a review committee who will recheck all the data and bring in a lot of validation. Thirdly, build social consensus with all communities, and this can be done through lot of outreach programs. So where people can be aware of their own rights and their own benefits. And finally, periodic caste survey every 10 to 15 years. See, this is very important thing because the data gap is actually causing a lot of issue here. Elites are actually inside OBC category, and poor or categorized under most forward caste. So there are lot of things like that. So this particular periodic caste survey can fix the issue. Now, based on the things I have discussed, I have framed a mains question for you. The implementation of a caste census can play a crucial role in supporting inclusive governance by addressing historical inequalities. Discuss. So it is actually 150 word 10 marker question. So you can write an answer and post it in the comment section so that we can review your answer. So with this, we came to the end of the daily current affairs analysis. If you like the video, hit like, do comment, and don't forget to subscribe to Shankar IAS Academy YouTube channel. Now, thank you so much for listening.